Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to MoonKast Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, women and gentle germs, this is the one and only Griffith G Child, and I am back. Put all of your worries up on the shelf and just enjoy yourself. For this is MoonKast number 12. That's right, you heard it here first. This is the official 12th MoonKast, and the MoonKast is being delivered as promised. I told you I would bring you the next MoonKast on Wednesday, May 18th, 2016. By the time you hear it, it may be May 19th, 2016. So I am glad that you are here with me today. Once again, the MoonKast has been brought to you by Moon-Based Chronicles, the double LP from yours truly, Griffith G Child. Release date is June 7th, 2016. That's right, the release date is June 7th, 2016. I have been working diligently to get this album done, and by June 7th, it should be available all over the internet, as far as iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, any website you can think of. This album should be available, as well as this album should be available on Reverb Nation. So this is a very exciting time for me. Also, I do have a child on the way, so it should be a beautiful baby boy. So this is a very exciting time for me. We have playoff basketball. We have an NBA draft coming up. And there's an album coming out. Plus I have a baby boy on the way as well. So, which is most important, is the new life, who is getting ready to already entered planet Earth, but hasn't been fully activated yet for duty on planet Earth. So I'm very excited to have a new child on the way. And we're going to go ahead and get started with today's show. For all of those, if this is your first time listening to a MoonKast, I want to say thank you for tuning in for the very first time, but you have missed a whole lot. You have missed the whole 2015 NBA regular season. So I want to encourage you to go back and listen to all of the previous MoonKasts so you can get a feel for my analysis and my opinions on basketball. Also, if you have missed it, I had a blast with the Scottie Pippen effect. So if you missed the Scottie Pippen effect, I encourage you to go back and listen to the Scottie Pippen effect. I will revisit that this summer, and I might add a little bit more to that Scottie Pippen effect. So just want to thank you for listening, all the previous listeners who have been there with me since the very first MoonKast. And if you are a brand new listener, please, I hope this will not be your last time. So we have a very, very explosive show for you today. This is it's going to be a very impactful show, explosive show. I'm going to give you some expert opinions. We're going to start off today's show. We're going to talk about the NBA Conference Finals in the East, and we're going to talk about the Conference Finals in the West. We're going to talk about the Final Four teams, and I am going to give you my predictions on who will make the finals and who will take it home. So my opinion may be a little biased. Give you a heads up. It may be a biased opinion, but once again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We're all wrong sometimes. So once again, this is just going to be my opinion. We're going to have a special, explosive middle of the show. I am going to talk about the NBA draft and the big debate of whether players should be allowed to come out at 18 into the NBA, or should they be forced to stay in school? That is a huge debate for amateur athletes becoming pro athletes. That is a very huge debate. So we want to talk about the NBA draft, and we want to talk about my proposal to fix the NBA draft. This is going to be explosive. I'm very excited to talk about this topic. I'm going to give you all of my recommendations to fix the NBA draft, to fix teams from tanking. We want to talk about all of these things. And in the last segment, I'm going to go over the top 30 picks in the NBA draft. And I will go over the second round picks for the NBA draft on a future MoonKast. I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'm going to focus on the first round. I'm going to talk about the top 30 picks. I'm going to give you the teams, and I'm going to give you those teams in the order that they will pick. And I'm going to talk about a few players where a few of those players should go, but I'm not going to talk about where the players should go quite yet. I'm going to wait till the next show to talk about where the players should go. I'm still studying and trying to get some feedback to see what I'm hearing as far as the scouts and the agents, and I'm reading different mock drafts. So I'm trying to see where I think players may go. So once again, the MoonKast has been brought to you today by Moonbase Chronicles, the double LP from yours truly, Griffin G. Chow. Release date June 7th, 2016. You do not want to miss out on this album. So for now, I am going to take a break for a station identification, and I will be back with you shortly. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The MoonKast has been brought to you today by Moonbase Chronicles, the double LP from Griffin G. Chow. Release date is June 7th, 2016. You are listening to Moonbase Radio, and now back to the show. Enjoy. All right, once again, I am back. The MoonKast today, episode number 12, has been brought to you by Moonbase Chronicles, the double LP from yours truly, Griffin G. Chow. Release date is June 7th, 2016. That will be the internet release. So it's going to be released worldwide on the internet June 7th. As far as physical copies of the album, that may not come out on June 7th, but we want to make sure that it is available on the internet for June 7th. So once again, this is going to be a very explosive project, and I'm very excited about it, and hopefully the world will take heed and listen to it and enjoy it as well. So we're going to get right on into the NBA, because that is my favorite sport. It's professional basketball. We want to talk about the conference finals. But before we do that, I just want to give you a heads up. The breaking news in the NBA is that the New York Knicks have hired Jeff Hornacek. Jeff Hornacek was fired earlier in the year by the Phoenix Suns for reasons I do not know, because the Phoenix Suns were not built to win anything this year. So the New York Knicks hired Jeff Hornacek. The rumors right now is that the Orlando Magic are trying to hire Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel was let go by the Indiana Pacers. Also, coaching news, the Los Angeles Lakers got rid of Byron Scott. They let him go, and they hired Luke Walton. The Indiana Pacers let go of Frank Vogel, and they promoted Nate McMillan. I'm also hearing that the Houston Rockets are very close to signing Mike D'Antoni. D'Antoni, he is a wonderful offensive-minded coach, not as great on the defensive end, and I'm not for sure if he will help Houston in that department. But those are some of the coaching news. I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So let's go ahead and get into the conference finals. If you remember from my last MoonKast, I had actually picked the Cavs and the Miami Heat to make the conference finals. So I'm 50-50 in both predictions. So the Toronto Raptors have made the conference finals against Cleveland, Cleveland destroyed the Raptors in Game 1, 115-84. The Warriors and the OKC is tied up. As you hear this, the OKC Oklahoma City Thunder, they beat the Warriors 102-108 in Game 1. The Warriors came back and destroyed OKC 118-91 in Game 2. That game just ended about an hour ago on May 18th. So that series is tied up 1-1. Let's talk about the Eastern Conference first. I have belief in Dwayne Wade to make the conference finals because I felt like Toronto they just aren't quite ready for this level yet. Now they played 2 7-game first-round series, so I do believe that Toronto was tired, and I believe they had worn-out legs where Cleveland was fresh, and so I believe that's why Cleveland destroyed Toronto, because we're talking about playing Game 7 on Sunday, which was May 15th, and then you have to study Cleveland on Monday, and then fly to Cleveland and then play on Tuesday. So to me, that was too much. So I didn't really think Toronto would win that game. They could have won that game as far as being sharp, but I just think that their legs were tired. That's too much traveling in just one day. You have to learn a whole new team and study film on a whole new team in just one day. So I kind of felt that was going to be too much for Toronto. Toronto had a good game plan. Their game plan was to stop the three-pointer. So they had their defense set up to get guys off of the three-point line. But by doing that, you actually forced LeBron James into his strength. He's not a good jump shooter. So he was able to attack the paint and kill him in the paint. Shooting 10 for 12. Kyrie led the team in scoring. They just demolished the Raptors. So I do think the series could go 5 or 6 games. I do believe that Cleveland is going to win the series, but I'm not just going to say that Cleveland's just going to walk all over them. I'm also not going to say that the Eastern Conference is completely easy. I believe the Western Conference is highly overrated. There's only 2 teams in the Western Conference that had phenomenal regular seasons, and that is the Golden State Warriors and San Antonio Spurs. Any other teams besides those 2, they were mediocre. The OKC, Oklahoma City Thunder won 55 games. Cavaliers won 57 games. And there were 2 out of those 3 Golden State Warrior games in the regular season where Oklahoma could have won those games, but they had poor execution and cost them 2 of those games. So I'm not going to sit here and say that the Western Conference is all that great. They're overrated this year. Now, in the past, they have been phenomenal. They're highly overrated in this year's playoffs. It was just the 2 teams that were ahead of everybody, and the San Antonio Spurs grew old pretty quick. I actually had the Spurs picked to make the conference finals against Golden State, but they grew old pretty quick. Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, they showed their age. And I believe that's how Oklahoma City was able to overcome them. When you look at all of the Spurs championships, the Spurs, besides that 1999 championship, the Spurs haven't won a championship where Ginobili hasn't played well. So Ginobili had to play well in order for him to win. And when he doesn't play well, San Antonio doesn't play well either. So he was kind of the key to me. We all know Duncan's been there a long time, but with Ginobili and Parker not being able to carry the load the way that they used to years ago, I think that did him in. I don't know if you guys remember, but I spoke in a previous MoonKast that in my heart that the 2014 San Antonio Spurs team was actually the best Spurs team in a long time. I don't think that this year's team is as good as that team, and they showed you by their play. LaMarcus Aldridge was a great pickup, but it looks like he's a number 2. And I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. Kawhi Leonard is probably not a number 1 option. I'm telling you right now. So he may be suited as a number 2 guy as being part of the system. He's probably not going to be the type of player that can carry them. So I believe that they may need to look for a number 1 guy. So I believe that Aldridge and Kawhi Leonard are going to be your number 2 and number 3 options, and they need a number 1 option. I'm hearing that they have been looking at Kevin Durant to come in in this offseason. So that's very fascinating news right there. So I'm also going to come out and say this. I was listening to the Ben Simmons podcast. A lot of people believe that the Ray Allen shot in that 2013 NBA Finals saved LeBron's legacy. But I'm going to go ahead and say no. In my opinion, I feel that LeBron's legacy has already been cemented. When he had the issues with the Dallas Mavericks in the 2011 Finals, I think because of that he will always be a step below your Magic Johnsons and your Larry Birds and your Michael Jordans. I believe he's going to be that next tier. I don't think he can surpass those guys because those players did not have those type of issues in the finals. Now, I know Magic Johnson, he had some issues in the 84 final. He didn't play particularly well. But I'm going to have to put LeBron in that second tier of greats. I'm not for sure if he can surpass those guys. So whether or not Ray Allen hit that 3, I'm going to say that did not save his legacy at all. I also believe that Ray Allen's three-pointer was a great, phenomenal shot, but I also feel like the shot was overrated. Kawhi Leonard missed a free throw before that shot, and Manu Ginobili missed a free throw before that shot. So if they make those free throws, that three-pointer just gets the lead down to 2, and the Spurs could still win that game. So the Spurs did not win that game because they missed the free throws before the shot. And on the flip side of that, the game went into overtime, and they still had a chance to win. The Spurs did not win, and the game went to Game 7, and LeBron took care of business. So the Ray Allen shot was a phenomenal shot, probably one of the greatest shots in NBA history, but that shot is also overrated because that shot did not determine the outcome of the series. It saved the series for that moment. The outcome was determined in the end by LeBron James in Game 7 scoring 37 points. So that was a beautiful shot. It's a great moment in history, but not the end-all be-all, and I don't think LeBron needs to be beat up over that moment. And I always feel like the best team always wins. So that's not a case where the Spurs were the better team. If they were the better team, they'd have made the free throws. So that argument will not sit with me. So, sorry to go off on a tangent, but I just had to get that out there. Now, going into the conference finals, we want to talk about the conference finals in the West right now, where Oklahoma City is playing Golden State. So Oklahoma City has the size advantage with Enes Kanter, Ibaka, and Steven Adams. And to me, the Golden State Warriors, I've spoken about it before, they are a finesse team. They can get physical and bang, but they're more of a finesse team. The thing with Golden State is they have two of the best shooters, or they have the 2 best shooters in the history of the game. And so they're not going to have a lot of bad shooting nights. So Game 1, they had an off shooting night. At the same token, Westbrook was able to torch Stephen Curry in the second half, and that is the key, or one of the keys to beating the Warriors. You have to make Curry work on the defensive end. You have to go at him. So it was a great game, Game 1. Oklahoma almost gave that game up. Durant shot way too many jumpers, and in my opinion, Durant cannot be better than LeBron because LeBron can drive and go to the paint better. Even if he misses, he will drive to the paint, drive into the paint and go to the basket, where Kevin Durant sometimes settles for too many jumpers. And so I believe that Kevin Durant and Westbrook actually need each other, because Westbrook will be aggressive and go to the basket, where Durant sometimes will settle for jumpers. At the same token, Durant has a better defender on him to make him shoot those jumpers. Westbrook is being defended by 6-foot point guards who can't stay in front of him. So, with that being said, the series is tied up 1-1. Oklahoma got the split. It's going to be a long series. I mean, OKC could flame out and lose in 5. With Golden State winning the next 4, or it can be a teeter-totter series. So, in my mind, I would like to see the Oklahoma City Thunder move on because that gives the Cleveland Cavaliers the home court advantage. Cleveland won 57 games, OKC won 55, so Cleveland will get the home court advantage. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead right now and give you my finals prediction. I'm going to go with the Oklahoma City Thunder in 6 games. You heard it here first. It may not happen, but I'm going to go with OKC in 6 games. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers in 5 games, and I'm going to take Cleveland to win the whole thing this year. So this is the year that LeBron brings the title back to Ohio. Now, having said that, Golden State could easily move on and win the whole thing and clobber Cleveland. But I'm going to go ahead and stick with Cleveland to win the whole thing. So that is my prediction. I will give you, we will talk about it in the next MoonKast. By the time the next MoonKast airs, the finals may be over. I'm going to do the next MoonKast. We're going to shoot for June 15, 2016, so almost a month away from now. It's going to give me time to finish up the MoonKast Chronicles project, as well as study the NBA draft a little bit further. So that's my prediction. Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Cavaliers. Cavaliers winning it all. Let's say Cavs in 5. If the Cavs don't win at all, like I said, I'm not surprised. The Warriors could come out and just clobber everybody. They've been clobbering everybody all year. So we're going to stick with that prediction for now. That could be wrong, but that's what it's all about. It's all about me giving my analysis, and it's all about having these debates with each other. So we're going to go ahead and take a pause for a station identification. And when I come back, you do not want to miss this next part. So if you have to use the restroom, you need to go get something to eat, you need to go get a drink, press pause on this, and you want to come back. You do not want to miss this next segment. We're going to talk about fixes to the NBA draft system and the rookie system. So you do not want to miss this at all. So I will be back with you shortly. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The MoonKast has been brought to you today by Moonbase Chronicles, the double LP from Griffin G. Child. Release date is June 7th, 2016. You are listening to Moonbase Radio. And now, back to the show. Enjoy. All right. Once again, I am back in business. The MoonKast has been brought to you today by Moonbase Chronicles, the double LP from yours truly, Griffin G. Child. Release date is June 7th, 2016. You do not want to miss out on this project. Now, here we are. This is the moment of truth right here. I'm going to flip through some of my notes real quick, so you may hear some sound effects here in the background. But we're going to flip through some of my notes, and we're going to talk about fixes to the NBA system. So we're going to take it all the way back. If a lot of you may or may not remember a player by the name of Moses Malone. I don't have the exact year, but he was actually a player. He's actually one of the first official players to ever come out of high school straight to the pros. This player here, this guy here, he is basically, in a lot of people's minds, a top 15, top 10 player. And he's a guy who came right out of high school. He actually was in college at the time. He was supposed to go to the University of Maryland. He was sitting in class, and he actually got a message saying that he was drafted by the I believe it was the Utah Stars of the ABA. So he's actually one of the first official NBA players to get drafted, or one of the first high school players to get drafted. And there's another player back at that time period who also, I believe, had gotten drafted, but I don't have his name right out. It's not on the tip of my tongue. I don't have his name. But it's been a long time since that had been tried, and up until the 1995 year or season, when a player by the name of Kevin Garnett, this is a player who wanted to go to college but had a hard time with the SATs. So he decided that it would be worth a shot. He was being raised by his mother in South Carolina, and the family moved to Chicago, where he attended Farragut Academy. And I guess he figured, what the heck, let's go ahead and try to make this move to the pros. And it was a rough move for him, but he actually became one of the better players in NBA history. Actually, he was then followed by a guy by the name of Kobe Bean Bryant, whose father, Joe Jelly Bean Bryant, played in the 70s and in the early 80s in the NBA with the 76ers, and also at the time the San Diego Clippers. And he ended up finishing his career over in Italy. And so Kobe actually learned Italian. He learned to speak different languages growing up in Italy, and he became the killer one-on-one solo act, playing a team sport that we all grew to know and love today because of his experiences overseas and coming back to the States for his high school years and dominating the high school circuit, as well as playing against some professional players, which is now illegal. You're not really allowed to play against professional players, but he was able to play against Michael Cooper, Jerry Stackhouse, and Eddie Jones. So he played against some professional players at the high school level. The legend tells us that he dominated Stackhouse, he dominated Michael Cooper, he dominated Eddie Jones. I've heard various stories where he held his own against those guys, but he didn't dominate those guys. I've heard so many different stories. So I just want to rattle off a couple of players real quick, guys that came straight out of high school. I'm going to recommend a book. There's a book that is called Boys Among Men, and it is written by Jonathan Abrams. Once again, the book is called Boys Among Men, and it is written by Jonathan Abrams. It's a fantastic, phenomenal book. This book chronicles all of the guys who skipped college and made it to the NBA, and it talks about the players that made it, and it talks about the players who didn't make it. So once again, Boys Among Men. This is a book written by Jonathan Abrams. I read this book. This book went into a lot of my research for today's show, as well as my opinions that I'm going to be speaking about for today's show. So, with the year, I believe the year was 2005. That was the year that the rule was implemented, where the NBA wanted to stop players from coming straight out of high school, and they wanted to have guys come into the NBA after one season of college. And so this book talks about the players who made the leap from high school to the pros before that rule was implemented. And then I'm going to talk about the rule after that. So I'm going to name some names for you guys real quick. And I may miss a couple of players, so if I do miss them, feel free to leave a comment, because this is going on YouTube. So feel free to leave a comment about some of the players that I may miss. But I'm going to name some names for you guys. I'm going to rattle off some names, and so let's go through the list here. Jermaine O'Neal, Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, Tyson Chandler, Eddie Curry, Kwame Brown, LeBron James, Dwight Howard, Jonathan Bender, J.R. Smith, Josh Smith, Al Harrington, Rashard Lewis, Amari Stoudemire, Lenny Cook, Martell Webster, and I'm going to give you the name of Monta Ellis. So there's probably going to be more players than what I mentioned. These are the names that I could come up with as far as players that made the jump from high school to the pros. And these guys were actually successful in the pros. Not saying that they had dominant careers, but they were successful at the professional level. And so now we're going to read off a couple of names of players who weren't successful. Now this first name, excuse me if I don't get it right, but the first name in Duty Eby, Lenny Cook, Corleon Young, and Leon Smith, Ellis Richardson, and Taj McDonald. So that second list of names are players who attempted to make it to the pros. A couple of these guys had a cup of coffee in the NBA, as they say. They lasted 15 minutes and flamed out. One of the players actually wanted to commit suicide in Leon Smith. He tried to kill himself, actually, which is sad to say. And God bless him. I don't wish that on any human being. So as you can see, the list of players that have been successful far outweighs the list of players who have not been successful. Now, the three keys to being a successful professional athlete, this is not even basketball, but any sport. The three keys to being a successful professional athlete, I believe, is drive and determination. That is one key. You have to want it. If you have the drive, then you're going to put the time in and the conditioning to become a great player. The second key, which is a very big key, is health. You have to be healthy. I know playing basketball, some guys have bad knees, bad ankles, bad backs that don't allow them to further their careers, or they have to kind of quit at an earlier age. And this is the biggest, and this key is one of the biggest keys that is up for debate. And I am not able to give a solid answer on this last one, but I just wanted to. This is up for grabs. I mean, you can voice your opinion on this one, but this is my opinion on this one. I believe in faith, so I do believe in God. I believe in a higher power, and I do believe that. There's a certain destiny for us as human beings, and some players are born to be great, and some are born to be supporting cast role players. And so I believe we have a certain fate where some of us are good enough to play at the highest level, and then some of us aren't. So that is the biggest key right there. So I'm going to go with fate, drive, and health. Those are the three biggest keys to me to being a successful professional athlete. When I look at the guys who didn't make it, Leon Smith, as I mentioned, tried to commit suicide, had a tough upbringing, had an unstable home. Lenny Cook had problems in school. Corleon Young. A lot of these guys have problems in school, so if you're not going to hit the books on the high school level, I don't think you can be successful in life, period. You have to be willing to hit the books. So some of these guys, I don't think college would have helped anyway, because the key to me, if you're going to go to college, I don't think you should have to go to college to become a better basketball player. I think the number one reason why you should go to college is to learn a skill. So when you get out of college, you can use that skill and apply it so you can have a successful career and provide for yourself and your family. I'm not even going to say you should go to college for an education, because it's not necessary. You don't have to go to college to get an education. You can go to the library and get an education. If you're going to go to college, you want to get an education that will allow you to have a skill so you can take care of yourself and your family. That is the number one reason to go to college. Now, as you're going to college, you'll learn how to wash your own clothes, fold your own laundry. You'll learn how to keep a schedule. You'll build character. But it's going to depend on your upbringing. The way I was brought up, I was already taught how to fold clothes and do laundry and clean. I was already taught to do those things before I even went to college. So I don't think college is the place that you go to learn those things. You should be learning those things before you leave the door. So that is a parenting issue. So when I look at people who make it successfully and the ones that don't, there has to be some sort of drive or determination in you to want to be successful. So even though you may not have the greatest of parenting, or you may not be in the best situation, you have to want to be successful for yourself first. Now, of course, there are some of us that are placed in unfortunate situations and circumstances. But if you have a gift, let's say you have a gift like a basketball player, tennis player, or football player, that is a skill. You can use that skill and let that skill take you to where you really want to be. And I think that is the key to life, is finding out what your true gifts are. If your true gifts lead you to college, then that's where you go. But I don't think you should be forced to go to college to learn life lessons. I feel that you can learn life lessons easier than being out on your own when rent is due on the first of the month. I believe that would teach you the lessons of life quicker than sitting on a college campus and going to frat parties and doing things of that nature. Now, on the flip side of saying that, we all know that what college is a handshake wink deal between the NBA, where it's a free farm system for the NBA. So it's a free farm system where the NBA will learn to, where the NBA can scout future talent without having to invest a dime into the scouting. On the flip side of that, the NCAA gets to make the billions of dollars that the NCAA makes. So it's a handshake wink deal, in my opinion. I don't mean to rub the wrong feathers or say anything in the wrong way, but I do believe that it is a free farm system to develop the players. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that college doesn't make you a better player, because it does. At the same token, a player may peak in college and flatline at the professional level. And so, for me, I am a fan of professional athletes more so than college, because I want to see the finished product. I don't care how great you were at 18 and 19. I want to see how great will you be at the age of 30. So to me, the cream of the crop rises to the top. And I want to see how good you're going to be when you hit that age mark of 30. That is what is important to me, more so than how good you are at 20. So being in college does give NBA teams a fair amount of time to scout the competition so that you can see if this guy's going to be any good or not. But forcing a player to go when a player is not going to hit the books, and have people take SATs for him, have people take tests for him, I don't think that you should go to college for that. And the player of Ben Simmons, who everybody is knocking him now, I believe he is a guy who wanted nothing to do with college. This is a guy who went to college because he was told that he had to go. This is a guy who left campus as soon as the season ended. So it makes no sense to me for a guy to go to college for 1 year when he's only going to be there for 6 months. He's not going to finish class. He's not going to hit the books. He's not going to do anything. So to me, as I said before, college is about wanting to go for a skill. And so the skill, when you're learning that skill, the education and the lessons of life come to me after that. But I'm all about this, learning the skill first. That is the thing with me. So if you want to be an engineer, that is a skill. As you're going to be an engineer, you'll also take classes, the general education class. You'll take those courses, and then you'll get the education around that. But that skill is to be an engineer, because that is what's going to help you provide for yourself and your family. If you just want to get an education, you go to the library and open up a book. The libraries do still exist. So, having said that, this is going to be my proposal. This is my proposal right here. I'm going to say that players should be allowed to come out of high school and go straight to the NBA. If you decide that you're going to sign with the college as a letter of intent, then you should be able to go to college for 2 years. So it's mandatory 2 years to go to college. If you decide after that first year of college you just don't want to go to college anymore, you have to spend a year in the D League after college. Now, when you spend that year in the D League, if you decide to come out of college at that time, the NBA team should be allowed to draft you, of course. So you should be able to get drafted after that first year, but you can't join the NBA to a year later. So that is my proposal. Come right out of high school. If you decide that you want to go to college, you go for 2 years. If after that first year you don't want to be in college anymore, you can elect for the draft. You get drafted, you have to sit out a year in the D League. Now, as far as for international players, I would like to see international players not be able to enter the NBA as well until the age of 20. So if an international player decides that they want to come over before the age of 20, or second year removed, however you want to call it, they have to spend a year in the D League as well. So if you get what I'm saying, I would like to see the National Basketball Development League really take over. I really would like to see that league really blossom. So what I would like to see is I would like to see the NBA draft open up to 3 rounds. Right now the NBA draft is 2 rounds. I would like to see the NBA draft open up to 3 rounds. The third round does not have to be televised. So the third round, just like the NFL televises the first 2, and then they don't televise the draft, the rounds toward the end of that draft. So you don't have to televise the third round of the draft. You can just televise the first 2, and then the following day you can pick up with the third round, but that round does not have to be televised. So you can have more guys elect to come out of high school, and when you make it into that third round, you can go ahead and take the guy out of high school. But if you're not ready for him to make your main squad, you want to stash him on your D League roster. So, having said that, I would like to see 6-year rookie contracts. So this may not sit well with a lot of people, but once again, I would like to see 6-year rookie contracts with team options after the second year. So after those first 2 years, okay, I don't like how this player's performing, I'm gonna let him go. Let him go to be either unrestricted or restricted. So that could be bargained into the contract. If he's restricted, let a team match. If he's not restricted, then you can let him go. So the team will have that option. So then if you keep that player for 4 years, okay, I'm still not quite sold on whether or not I want to pay this guy a lot of money. So then you're going to opt in for the 6 years. Now, I know this may rub people the wrong way, but my thing is this. You take a guy at 18 years old, by the time he's 23, 24, you're going to know how good he will be. So you have 6 years to develop this player in your system before you pay him the big money. Now, of course, this may not sit well with the players' union because of the NBA collective bargaining agreement. So that player won't make any big money till after that 6th year. So that may not sit well. But my thing is, if I'm taking a player out of college, you don't want to develop the player, a la Tracy McGrady, where he spent those years developing in Toronto to where Orlando got his best years. So I would like to see the option where he could actually keep the player a little bit longer. And so then if he's a truly good player from year 6 to 12 of his career, let him make his money then. I would also like to see the rookie wage scale be lowered to match the veterans minimum. So the number 1 pick in the draft can get no more than $2 million, and let that salary dwindle down all the way to pick 30. So the second round picks and third round picks, they get even less than that. And I would also like to see the NBA D-League salary bump up to the veterans minimum. So D-League players can also get that as well. So maybe a player who wants to come out early, maybe that player might want to stay in school, maybe want to go to college when they see that maybe the money's not going to come right away. Now, of course, you get the off-the-court stuff, but the player contract may not be as much. So maybe that player may decide not to come out. So once again, 6-year rookie deals with team options after the second year. So now that could be adjusted. You know, maybe you might want to do 4 years, 4-year rookie deals. So it's not set in stone. So that can be adjusted. So that may keep players in school longer when they see that, okay, if I come out of high school right now, I'm going to be locked into a 6-year, at least a minimum 6-year deal if I pan out. If I don't pan out, I can get cut or waived. So maybe I might want to go to college and better myself. Having said that, I want to make sure that all the NBA teams have a 15-man NBDL National Basketball Development League roster. So I want all the 30 NBA teams to have a team affiliate where they can draft their own players, up to 15 men. So you're going to have 450 professional basketball players in the NBA, and then you're going to have 450 in the NBDL, and then you can draft your players and stash them on your NBDL squad, and you can bring those players up. So you can draft a guy in the 3rd round, but not bring him up into maybe his 3rd or 4th year. And so if a player is sitting there thinking, I'm going to have to play in the D-League for 3 to 4 years because I'm not that good, maybe that player will consider going to college. And so when that player goes to college, he'll go for those 2 years. So in my opinion, I believe that playing in the NBDL will teach you life lessons more than going to college, because you're out there and you have to pay rent. And so to me, that is the most important thing, is learning how to pay rent and pay car insurance and do these things. And to me, that builds character. So this is my biggest argument. This is the bigger argument than a lot of people like to use. You know, if a person can go and fight for their country, die for their country, they should be allowed to play in the NBA. But I like to say, if you can die for your country, then you can pay rent on the 1st of the month. So that is how I look at it. So if a player fails, they fail, because I believe in fate. So if you're an 18-year-old human being and you go out into the world and you're struggling with your rent and you fail, then it's no different than a player with NBA possible talent that goes out into the world and fails. There's no difference between the two to me. Failure is failure. It's not about the failure the first time. It's about how do you recover and pick yourself back up the second time. So reading this book, Boys Among Men, from Jonathan Abrams, it's a fascinating book, and this book has taught me a lot about the guys who made and didn't make it, but it was one trait that I saw in the people who didn't make it. And the number one trait was a lot of them didn't want to hit the books. I mean, you have some players who didn't want to hit the books, on the high school level. So if you're not hitting the books on the high school level, you're not going to make it in college anyway, because you have to hit the books. And so what I'm saying is, if a person just doesn't want to hit the books, they just want to go to work, I like to see the NBDL be a viable option instead of guys just going overseas and having to leave their families. I like to see them stay here in the States and develop. So let me go over my proposals once again. You can let the player come out of high school. If he goes to college, he has to go 2 years. After that first year of college, if he just doesn't like it, let him come out into the draft, but he has to stay in the D League for a year. He can't play on the big roster for a year. I'd like to see 30 NBDL teams, so that way the main team, like a New York Knicks, for example, they have 15 extra spots where they can send guys down. I'd like to see rookie contracts start off at $2 million and dwindle down from there. So that way, if a player doesn't pan out, you're not investing in that player right now. And I would like to see team options up to 6 years. Or like I said, you can just do the team options up to 4 years, being restricted after the 4 year. So those are some of my proposals. International players have to be 20 years old. If they're not 20, they got to go to the D League as well. So those are my proposals, because I know that the biggest thing with the player coming out of high school is maturity, and also the game did suffer for a while. So when Michael Jordan retired at the end of 1998, the game saw a dip in talent for a while, because the guys that had came out at a younger age in the mid-90s, they weren't quite ready to take over and thrive yet. And so the game did see a dip in talent. But if you look at the NBA today, there's at least one star or at least one really good player on all 30 teams. So I do feel like the talent has been replenished, and that there's a lot of talented players out there. And so like I said, the 6-year rookie contract may not sit well with the players union, but I do feel like if the guys want to come out of high school, that gives that team a little bit more time to evaluate them and actually grow, let that player develop and let that player grow before you start paying them big money, or he decides, oh, I want to leave. So like I said, the 2-year team option is flexible. You know, maybe you can go just because the way it's instituted right now is that I think it's a 2-year team option right now, and then after that 4th year, the player can become a restricted agent, or you can sign an extension. So that's how it's set up right now. But like I said, if a guy's coming out of high school, then by the time he's 24, which if he had went to school, he would be in the NBA just 2 years, then he would get his big payday. So I think it kind of evens out. Once again, in my opinion, going to college should be about skill to better yourself and your family. And as you are acquiring that skill, the education comes with that skill. So if you're going to college because you want to play in the Final Four, then you're going to college for the wrong reason. So I want the players that go to college to hit the books and study, and then you're going to do basketball along with that. But they say student athlete, which really should be athlete student, because the NCAA is making billions of dollars. They just signed an $11 billion TV deal a few years back for the March Madness tournament. So you can't sit here and say it's a student athlete when the March Madness tournament is bringing in all this money. So those are some of my proposals. I believe if a player is going to be great, that you should be able to see some of that greatness in that player at the age of 18. Now, if that player becomes great later and you don't see it, then I believe that is fate. So if a player comes out early, he twists his ankle, hurts his knee, then you can let that player loose, and that's on that player. That's a life choice that we have to make. So it's no different than a 20-year-old who works at McDonald's. It makes a life choice. It's no different than that athlete. So I don't believe in protecting the athlete from themselves. I don't believe in that. I believe once you're an adult, you have to make an adult decision. And so even if you're 19, if you're able to go to war, then you're able to make an adult decision. So I believe in it. I believe in it in that same light. And I believe if you do make a mistake, you do come out early and it doesn't work out, then you have to come to terms and be at peace with yourself and be humble, and then you just move on to the next phase of life. For example, a player like Jonathan Bender, he's a very long athletic player. He didn't quite pan out with the Indiana Pacers, but he did save up his money. He was able to go into business for himself. And so that is a prime example of a player who didn't blossom into a future superstar. But this is a player who did right with his finances because he had the drive and he had the skill of saving his money. And that in turn, he's able to live a life after basketball, because you still have to live a life after basketball. So, don't mean to get too long-winded, but this is a very explosive segment. I hope that you got the meat and potatoes out of this. Once again, if you don't agree with what I'm saying, it's perfectly fine. Feel free to leave me a comment. You know, it's all about opinions here. So, one more thing before I close out this segment, I would like to see the NBDL games televised. If you're in a city that has a NBA team, a professional team, that NBDL team, those games should be televised. And so, like I said, I believe there is something bigger going on behind the scenes where the NBDL is downplayed and where the college is uplifted. But I would like to see the NBDL and the NCAA on the same level, and I would like to see the NBDL games televised as well. So, but that is just my opinion. I'm just a believer of, I want to see pros over college players, because I feel your big universities, your Dukes, your Syracuses, your UCLAs, your Kentuckys, the big universities, they get the best players anyway. So what has happened in recent years is that the teams that have had players that have stayed in school for 3 to 4 years, those teams have knocked off some of your Dukes and your Syracuses, because the guys have stayed there longer and there's more chemistry. So for me, I actually applaud that. But for a true diehard college fan, they want to see the Marylands, the Dukes, and the Carolinas. They want to see those teams. But to me, it doesn't matter who makes it. I just want to see a good brand of basketball. And like I said, I'm more for the pro game than the college game. So my opinion may differ. But hopefully you enjoyed this segment. So we have one more segment to go for today's show. And so I will be back with you shortly. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The MoonKast has been brought to you today by Moonbase Chronicles, the double LP for Griffin G. Child. Release date is June 7th, 2016. You are listening to Moonbase Radio. And now, back to the show. Enjoy. All right. So once again, I am back. The MoonKast has been brought to you today by Moonbase Chronicles, the double LP from yours truly, Griffin G. Chow. Release date is June 7th, 2016. Just a few more weeks away. Worldwide internet release. I will keep you posted when the physical copy will be available, but for right now, it's going to be worldwide internet release. There will also be a YouTube listening party for each song on the project. So you do not want to miss out on this experience with this album that is coming. So it's going to be very impactful. It's going to be very explosive. So now, in this last segment, we're going to talk about the NBA draft order. The draft lottery was yesterday. For those who did not catch it, the Philadelphia 76ers won the draft lottery, so they do have the top pick. I'm going to give you the draft order counting down from 30 all the way to number 1. And then I'm going to talk about a couple of players, but I'm going to get more into the players that will get drafted in the next upcoming show. So let's start from the 30 all the way to the top. So the 30th pick is going to go to the Golden State Warriors, since they had the best record. The 29th pick is going to go to the San Antonio Spurs. The 28th pick is going to go to the Phoenix Suns. The 27th pick is going to the Toronto Raptors. The 26th pick is going to the Philadelphia 76ers. The 25th pick is going to the Los Angeles Clippers. The 24th pick is going to the Philadelphia 76ers. The 23rd pick is going to the Boston Celtics. The 22nd pick is going to the Charlotte Hornets. The 21st pick is going to the Atlanta Hawks. The 20th pick is going to the Indiana Pacers. The 19th pick is going to the Denver Nuggets. The 18th pick is going to the Detroit Pistons. The 17th pick is going to the Memphis Grizzlies. And the 16th pick is going to the Boston Celtics. So that is the bottom half of the first round of the draft. So Warriors, Spurs, Suns, Raptors, 76ers, Clippers, 76ers, Celtics, Hornets, Hawks, Pacers, Denver Nuggets, Detroit Pistons, Memphis Grizzlies, and Boston Celtics. That is from 30 to 16. So now we're going to get down to the nitty gritty here. We're going to pick from the 15th pick all the way up to the top pick here. The 15th pick goes to the Denver Nuggets. The 14th pick, the Chicago Bulls. 13th pick, Phoenix Suns. The 12th pick, Utah Jazz. 11th pick, Orlando Magic. The 10th pick, Milwaukee Bucks. The 9th pick, Toronto Raptors. The 8th pick, Sacramento Kings. The 7th pick, Denver Nuggets. The 6th pick, New Orleans Pelicans. The 5th pick, Minnesota Timberwolves. The 4th pick, the Phoenix Suns. The 3rd pick, Boston Celtics. The 2nd pick, Los Angeles Lakers. And the 1st pick is the Philadelphia 76ers. So I just want to give you guys a rundown on all the picks. So we got Denver Bulls, Suns, Utah Jazz, Orlando Magic, the Bucks, Raptors, Sacramento Kings, Denver Nuggets, Pelicans, the Wolves, Suns, Celtics, Lakers, and 76ers, picking from 15 to 1. The Cleveland Cavaliers, I believe, are one of the few teams that don't get a pick in the first round. They actually don't have a pick in the draft at all. They traded all their picks away in hopes for a championship, so they don't have any draft picks coming this year. The Philadelphia 76ers, they have a number of picks in the first round. So they have the first pick. They also have the 26th pick and the 24th pick. So they have 3 first round picks. So they do need they have Ish Smith, who is a pretty good point guard. So I would say that the Philadelphia 76ers need good point guard play, and they need shooters. So you have to have some shooters. So maybe with the 24th and 26th pick, they can pick up a couple of shooters. I know the word around the NBA is that you can't win with a plotting big man like Okafor, but I say you can win with him. It's a matter of who you put around him. So if he can be quick on his feet and run the floor, and you can put shooters with him, I feel that he can play in today's NBA, as well as Joel Embiid. Now, Joel Embiid may have better footwork, so they do have a logjam there. But in my opinion, is you need guys that can come off the bench. So to me personally, I don't believe in getting carried away with this guy can't play because he's too big. I don't buy into that. I don't like that. You can't outplay Golden State by outshooting them and playing small. You have to play your own way. So you have to find a way to force Golden State to play your style. So that is the key. And you can't copy what they do because they have the two best shooters in the game as well as two of the best in the history of the game. So the Los Angeles Lakers, they could go either way. I'm hearing that Ben Simmons may not want to go to Philadelphia, that he may have bigger endorsement deals if he went to the Lakers. So he may say he doesn't want to go to Philly and he might want to go to the Lakers. The Boston Celtics are in a great position with the third pick. They could go with a young stud, a young star player. Like I said, I'm going to talk about those players in the upcoming MoonKast. I know I talked about a lot of them earlier. I talked about Buddy Hield, Jacob Poeltl. I talked about Jamal Murray. I talked about Brandon Ingram, and you heard me talk about Ben Simmons a whole lot. So you've already heard me speak about those players, a lot of them already. You heard me talk about Jaylen Brown, another player, Ivan Rabb. He decided to go back to college. You got another guy, Thon Maker, who I spoke about in the last MoonKast. This is a guy who was able to graduate, or he had the credits eligible to graduate last year, but he's coming out this year, so he kind of cheated the system, as I spoke about in that middle segment about coming out of the draft. So he kind of cheated the system, actually. So like I said, I'm not going to get all into those players right now, just because I'm going to save that ammunition for the next podcast, because this one actually went pretty long. So you do have your draft order. I'm going to say I'm going to go with Ben Simmons as the top pick. I know there's a lot of negative backlash towards him, but in my heart, I believe that this is a guy who didn't care about the college level. So I don't think you can judge his drive and determination on how he played in college, because I don't think he wanted to be there. He wasn't interested in college. This is a kid who was born in Australia, and so he's not going to share the same, I want to go through March Madness, I want to go to the Final Four. He's not going to share that same dream and passion as a player born in America. So that's just my take on it. I would still take Ben Simmons number one. I love to see him pair with Okafor and run the floor. And I believe that a guy who supposedly can't shoot and is 19 years old should be able to learn how to shoot by the time he's 25. So the thing with today's generation is there's internet access and there's tools and resources. So if you're a big man and you're not quick on your feet, there are tools to help you get quicker on your feet to go out and guard the perimeter. There are also tools for you to be a better free throw shooter and a better jump shooter. So I would not pass on Ben Simmons. Now, if his camp is telling Philadelphia that he does not want to play there, then that is a different story. So, for right now, we want to go ahead and close the MoonKast out. This is probably the longest MoonKast I've ever done. Very explosive and very impactful. I hope you enjoyed the segment on the college players and on the high school guys coming out. I hope you really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the research that I've done to provide you guys with this information. And right now, we're going to go with June 15th for the next MoonKast. So by then, the finals may be underway. It might be over. If the finals is over, I'm going to give you my analysis. If it's still ongoing, I'm going to give you my analysis at that time. I'm going with Cleveland and OKC. Like I said, Golden State, they just clobbered OKC tonight. So the Warriors could come out and they can just beat the mess out of Cleveland. And so, like I said, it can go either way, but I'm going to go with Cleveland. I love to see LeBron bring the title back to Ohio. You know, Ohio is very deserving. We know Golden State went 40 years without a title, and Cleveland hasn't had a title since the 1950s when the Browns won. So Cleveland Browns, the football team, won. So we're going to get back at you guys on June 15th. And that will be the next MoonKast. The NBA draft is June 23rd. So I want to give you guys my analysis the week before the draft. And then I'm going to give you guys my analysis after the draft. So, but I want to thank you guys for listening. We're going to talk about the finals on the next MoonKast. We're also going to talk about my draft predictions on the next MoonKast, and we're also going to talk about the Moonbase Chronicles album. That album should be out and should be out by at least a week by that time. So we want to talk about that as well. So I just want to let you guys know that I'm thankful that you have listened. Please feel free to go back and listen to previous MoonKast. There's 11 of them. And please feel free to go back and listen to the Scottie Pippen effect. So you want to relive the effect. Do not give up on the effect. So relive that. And we're going to sign off for now. Thank you. Once again, you can hit me up on Twitter at Griffin_Gchild. That is at GRIFFIN_GCHILD. Hit me up on Twitter and stay tuned for more MoonKast in the future. God bless for now. Signing off. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Moonbase Radio.